So what's up, everyone? It's Jason Jani from Direct Music Service Team DMS, and today I am pumped to bring you another episode of The Formula, and today we get to spend some time with this man, a DJ who's absolutely smashing it right now in the world. His name is Konflikt. So Konflikt, I appreciate you taking some time to hang out with us over here at DMS.
Thank you for having me. We just did a photo shoot / video shoot just across this wall here, and it was fantastic. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to use your facility as a Toys R Us for DJs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. My pleasure. I'm happy to have you here. I know you've been moving around a lot. You just came in from the Dominican Republic, and you know, your calendar is insane. It's very admirable for someone that's been in the game for a long time to just see you playing some of the prettiest clubs in the prettiest places. Just an amazing team behind you, and it's just awesome to see. So just congrats on all the success that you've had, you know, and you've worked really hard for.
Thank you. To clarify it, just so we don't give the wrong impression, team is just two people.
Okay.
It's just me and booking agent.
Right. Okay.
So there's not like a whole team. I don't have a videographer. I think just to like kind of clear the air, just jumping right into it. I don't have a picture guy that comes with me, a video guy that comes with me. What I have in my DJ bag is a monopod. I set it up. I have a Bluetooth remote for my phone.
Yeah.
I go to locations and I take pictures of myself.
Is that right?
Yes. So I've gotten some messages that people are like, I wish I could afford a professional photographer to come with me and get the shots you get. And I'm like, dude, it's just me. I don't pay anybody for anything.
And it's amazing, like how an iPhone now, how the clarity of the pictures that you can take, and even some of the stuff that you can do with it. So,
100%, yeah.
What's your camera of choice? Like, do you have like a camera of choice?
For travel, 100% the iPhone.
The iPhone. Okay.
I invested in the iPhone 7 Plus. I haven't upgraded yet, just because I don't think I'm getting enough for my money. But the iPhone 7 Plus, when I saw it and I saw that it had 2 camera lenses and the resolution and the different picture styles you could do, I was like, okay, it's an $800 phone, but it's almost the equivalent of spending $500-600 on a camera. So why not just use it if I've invested the money into it?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's amazing how the phone is like your best friend, especially when you're on the road, and all the different things that you can do with your phone. It's insane. So let's talk about like kind of like history, right? Like I definitely have heard your story, and I think it's super impressionable, right? So you started doing this how long ago has it been?
I got my first turntable and mixer when I was either 13 or 14 years old.
Okay. And how does one take, I guess, the path that you've kind of traveled? So the question would be like, you know, how does one start as, you know, a teenager and kind of create a career path in this business? Like, how did it kind of work for you?
Well, first, I didn't have any inkling as to what was possible, which is both good and bad. It's good because I didn't see a ceiling above me where I said, okay, once I get there, that's the end. Or I didn't look up and say, I don't know what's beyond this. It sounds cliche, but literally the sky was the limit because I had no sense of what limitations there was inside of this career field. So the way that I was able to get to the place that I'm at now was just by working.
Right.
Like, there's no secret cheat code. I didn't have relationships. I'm relatively antisocial, and I've never made a friend of someone where I wanted to take something from them.
Right.
So the connections that some other people in the industry might rely upon, I never had. All I did was just work hard to try to be a good DJ and entertain. And then things just kind of fell into place.
So kind of going back to the early years, because the industry has changed considerably, you know, from, you know, the teenage years to where we are today. And I understand work is definitely a big part of the equation for everyone that makes it in the business, or at least strives to make it in the business. So, like, what were some of your influences, music-wise, as a child?
So, the thing, I didn't have musical influences. My parents immigrated to the States when I was 4.
Okay.
So, in regards to American music, or just music in general, there just wasn't a lot of time for that in the household. Like, it was mostly like, try to behave while mom and dad worked.
Right.
Because they were out trying to make money so we could eat.
Now, where is the family from? So when everyone
Argentina
came here
originally.
Okay.
I was born in Argentina. My mom and dad are from Argentina, and they moved to Miami when I was 4. And my mom's a nurse. Somehow she was able to pass tests in English and started working as a nurse in Miami, and that was basically life. I remember vividly 2 or 3 records and a record player sometime in my early childhood, but beyond that, there was never music. We didn't afford a radio. We couldn't have anything that would play music, and at the time, you couldn't stream it, obviously.
Right.
So it was only in the car, and I think the radio was busted, so we would just sit in silence.
So, like, tell me about do you remember your first party? Like the first party you actually played or got to do this? Or?
Once I actually decided that I wanted to do this for a living, I found a way to buy a dual CD player. I had 1 turntable, 1 mixer. My friend was a promoter in high school, and he rented out a banquet hall.
Okay.
And he was going to charge admission at the door and maybe sell alcoholic beverages in the back. And when he told me, hey, come to my party, I was like, can I DJ? He's like, do you DJ? I'm like, yeah, I DJ. Which is, I think, one of the fallacies of DJing, that you have to say you are a DJ before your first gig to actually get your first gig.
Right.
And something, it was like 9 o'clock and they were still cleaning the place up and I was playing music. I was like,
wow,
I'm doing it. That was my first time ever playing.
Do you remember any of the records you played at that party?
I 100% remember the record that killed, and I don't know now if I might have stepped on toes or it was just one of those things that no one else was going to play it. But I believe it's Akinyele, the artist, and it was Put It in My Mouth.
Oh, get
And I
outta
had
here.
all the girls singing this song, and it was like, oh, I'm killing. But I had no idea what I was doing.
That's funny. That's awesome. So that was, I'm assuming that was in like the Miami area,
Yeah, it was
right?
Miami. It was 10 minutes from my mom's house.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's funny to hear like the path, because I feel like there's so many people that are in the business in some capacity, and whether they're doing this as a hobby on weekends, every once in a while when they can, or killing it in the club world, like everyone starts from somewhere.
Yeah.
So like,
And it's never too late to start somewhere, and I still, at this point, don't believe I'm too good for any one gig. I will sometimes turn down things if they don't make logistical sense, but I never say to myself, I don't want to play there because X, Y, or Z reasons. Like, if there's a dance floor that needs to be entertained, I want to go do that.
So let's talk about like just the framework, because fast forward, okay, the early years, kind of like starting kind of like in the trenches and grinding it out, and now here we are years later, and your resume boasts an incredible list of amazing venues from coast to coast, even international venues. How do you prepare for an event? Like, what's the thought process that goes into like playing a party or going to a new space?
Okay, so musically, I have to make sure that what I'm coming into battle with is ready to go. So I don't want any surprises. If I'm playing in the Dominican Republic, I want to look at Billboard Top 50 in multiple areas. The most played, most downloaded, most purchased. So I'm cross-referencing what I have on my computer versus what's on these charts. Okay. And if things match up, I'm good to go. If I'm missing something, I'll download. And that's how I would prepare for a specific place like the Dominican Republic, where, let's say, you're going to play 70% Spanish music. In regards to mental process, I might get nervous sometimes where it's like a very high-end space. Like when I played XS in Las Vegas for the first time, open format DJ, it was like mostly EDM DJs or producers that were playing at this spot. So when I got the chance to play there, there's nervousness that comes into play, obviously. Performance anxiety, I think, is something that all DJs and all performers deal with. The way that I quench that is by telling myself that that's what I do. Like, this is what I do for a living. They're not asking me to juggle knives or to solve quadratic equations, on the clock. They're just asking me to do what I've done for the better part of 15 years.
Yeah, and that's it's awesome. Everyone has a different thought process. So let me ask you, on the tracks that you don't maybe have in your current rotation, are you putting them into like a call out folder for the day, just from like a structural kind of or operational perspective?
I'm very stingy with my hard drive space.
Okay.
So things that I'm not going to play don't make it to my crates. And if there's something that I hear that I think might have a future in the club world or just as a popular song, I'll hold on to it for a little bit. If nothing happens, I'll get rid of it. Look, a lot of DJs, and this is probably not the most popular thing to say, but a lot of DJs feel like they have to break records. Like they have to be the first ones to play a record. I don't agree with that.
Okay.
And the reason why is because I'm there to entertain, not educate. There's a great legacy of DJs being the first to play a record and breaking an artist and putting them on stage the first time. I just don't want to play that role. It's just, I don't feel like that role is something I want to fill. I'd rather play things that are enjoyable and entertaining rather than to educate when it comes to the music. And again, that might not be the most popular thing to say. And DJs are going to be like, well, what are you using your platform for if you're not breaking artists? It's like, well, hold on, dude. What have artists done for DJs that have broke their records? What do you get, a drop, an Instagram picture or a picture, a social media picture?
Yeah.
It's like you're helping launch your career. And I'm not saying that I don't do it specifically because I don't get anything back. But again, I'm there to entertain.
Right, and especially if you're playing like a 1 hour or a 2 hour, peak hour set, and you're walking into a venue that's stuffed, like you're not. I mean, you can do that, and you can do whatever you like,
right.
but you have a platform to kind of use. I mean, they're paying for you to be there, So however you see fit. I like your style of play. I think the first time I actually was turned on to some of your stuff was not even the discotheque era. I think it actually was beyond that with some of the videos that I had seen, some of the quick, like this is the how-to videos that series that you had released a while ago. And for someone in the private event space and even the nightlife space, I think it was super impressionable to just see the creativity roll. And I thought that was really cool. And even to this day, I see that you're pumping out incredible content, to keep people in and sharing and paying it forward, trying to educate the crew. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to spend some time with you here, because I just think it's awesome. I know that you have a number of different projects going on, and I want to get to that. But let's talk about moving, right? Like moving around and playing all these different venues. You go from city to city, state to state. You have a life at home. You have a life outside of DJing. You've got a lot going on. What are some of the, I guess the pros, and what are some of the cons of like the travel lifestyle? A lot of people see kind of like the crazy photos or the different things that are taking place, but they don't understand some of the sacrifice or the work that gets into getting to some of these properties.
Okay. I'm going to answer this question kind of in a unique way.
Okay.
There are no cons.
Okay.
Because any con that I'm going to, and I'm going to list some cons, but it's just me complaining about dumb shit.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm sorry to be vulgar, but it's the truth.
That's perfect.
Because con is being away from home or your family 8 hours a day, working a job that you might not necessarily love. Mm-hmm. That's a con. Losing a few hours of sleep because you have to get on a plane is not a con. Working 2-3 days out of the week, but having to travel in between, is it tough? Again, this is a complaint. This is not a con.
Right.
Is it tough? Yeah, it's tough. Sometimes it sucks and I want to go to sleep. But is it way better than being away from home 5 days a week for 8-hour stretches, potentially working overtime shifts too? That's not the life that I necessarily want. And I admire those people. And I've told specifically my mom several times when I've been at her house and she wakes up at 7 a.m. and gets back at like 7 p.m.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're a superhero. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Right? So in regards to travel, in my brain, there's no cons. Is it hard? Sometimes it's hard. Do I sometimes think to myself, shit, like I want an extra hour? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I never lose sight of the fact that I do and have done what I've loved from the first paycheck that I've received. And I worked at a supermarket for 2 weeks, long enough for me to realize that was not for me, and I never wanted to do it again.
Yeah.
So in regards to cons, there's no cons. In regards to pros, freedom, money, enjoyment, independence, responsibility, which is a big one.
Yeah.
Responsibility not just for myself and for my career, but I think in my brain, responsibility to help the new generation. Potentially I could do this for another 15 years, 10 years if I wanted to. But after that, I feel like I have a sense of duty to help the next group kind of help find their way, because that was never there for me. And I felt like if it was there, I'd be a multimillionaire right now with several properties and nightclubs, because somebody would have helped. And if I can help somebody do that, because all you need is that drive. Dude, I had drive. And now I'm like completely off on a tangent, but I had drive to get somewhere. I just didn't know what direction to go in. So I wasted a lot of gas on the way. And if somebody would have been like, this way.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Who knows how far? But to answer your question, no cons, all pros.
I love it. I love it. And, you know, I was hoping that you'd say something like that, so it fits well. I'm sorry to my wife who might be watching this and whatever, but there's a lot of people that move around. There's a lot of people that want to do a lot of things, and it's really cool to see you killing it wherever you seem to pop up, you know, and I think you spend a lot of time and a good amount of time producing content that connects with the reality of where you are and what you're doing and whatnot. If I was to say how big a part is social media in your life now, what would you say?
I would say specifically if we dumbed it down to numbers, 51%.
Okay.
In regards to, I wouldn't say my life, but in regards to my career. In all honesty, if I didn't have this job, I wouldn't be on social media. I prefer to just live, right? But because of what we do specifically, now more than ever, it's become 51% of the equation, in my opinion. And prior to Serato, there was the need for talent. So if you break it down, and I actually drew pie charts of this. I was talking to the Rich Group, the whole roster of DJs that I'm on, the management label I'm on. We were talking about bookings and things like that. And I drew pie charts, and it was like prior to Serato, you needed to have like 70% talent, 20% musical selection, and like 10% connections, right? And then it's like after Serato, and you needed to have potentially just like 50% talent, 30% connections, and 20% music, because music got a lot easier.
Right.
Now after Serato and social media, now the talent portion gets even smaller in that pie chart. So social media becomes like a bigger space in that, because you need fame. I've had bookers tell me that they booked me specifically based off the quality of my pictures and had never heard my mixes. Luckily, I think I'm an okay DJ and things went well. But that is the metric by which the industry is deciding to book right now. And we can complain about that. We can say that's bullshit, it should be off talent. I agree it should be off talent. But if you're going to go against the market trend, you're going to end up losing the battle, in my opinion.
What do you say is your favorite? What do you say is your favorite social media platform? Instagram. And are you just core on the photo selection for like your timeline, so to speak, or are you into the story mode or a hybrid of both?
Story to me is like the things that are cool, but not good enough to make history, because the feed is forever. It's a museum, so it's going to stay up for as long as people want. So I might potentially do something cool throughout the day, but I don't feel like it should remain in history, etched forever, right? And I don't mean like they'll be looking back at this year. No, I just mean like historically in regards to the feed.
Right. I got it. Now we talked about the Rich Group, and that story I think is really cool, right? So like, do you mind just sharing a little bit about how it started?
So I wasn't there for the inception, which was, this is Louis Rich. He's the guy that runs it, guy that owns it. And that was a little bit before me. But basically, I sent an email to a management company when I was trying to get out of Miami. And it bounced to louis@blank.com.
Right.
And then he said, hey, we will get back to you. And I was like, okay, cool. Then he left. And he emailed me from a personal email. And I was like, hey, I'm ready to work when you want to work. And I was like, all right, I'll get back to you. Miami was super hot at the time. I was getting business cards. I was getting a lot of meetings with people that were from all over the world. Like I have a nightclub here, I have a club there. They were coming to Miami to party and to see how the clubs were run. So with all these contacts, I thought, okay, I need somebody that can broker deals. And I was like, hey, Lewis, next person that comes through, I'll send you their info, broker the deal, get me to wherever they are, and we will see if this works. Happens to be with somebody from Switzerland. So I literally met Lewis at the airport going to Switzerland to play for the first time. So that went well, and basically I started feeding him all of the contacts that came through my DJ booth in Miami. And then from there, we started building up rapport with different clubs and different accounts, and we brought on more DJs. By we, I mean him, because it's obviously his company.
Right.
But I was kind of like his right-hand man in the whole thing, because it would be like, here's Obscene, here's Crespo, here's Joe Maz.
Right.
When he wanted to grab Graham Funky and Stone Rock, he was like, look, can you go have like dinner with them and like talk to them, or I'm gonna go meet you there and we'll go together, things like that. So it's like I kind of had a hand in helping to build the company, but it's not my company. I'm just a part of it. I've just always felt that if I had a strong team around me, that it would make me stronger as an individual.
Right, and I think it also probably helps maintain some of the incredible accounts that I guess the Rich Group holds, right? Because having a talent-rich organization, no matter who you have someone that's good, and it's a good notch for everyone. So now let's talk about, taking it from, being with a nice crew and everything to kind of like the future. And let's talk about not just what you have coming up, but let's talk about people that are coming up in the game. And if I was to ask you for a piece of advice to give to someone that would be watching this, trying to get to a level where you are, or beyond that, or even half of where you're sitting at in the mountain on the DJ
Let me stop you right there. I actually got a message from somebody that said, I think I posted on my calendar, and they messaged me with, I hope in the future I can have half of what you have. And I replied, don't shoot for half, work for double.
Got it.
So my first piece of advice will be, look at what I'm doing, look at what other DJs in my tier and above my tier are doing, work harder than me, work harder than them. That was my path to success, was looking at people in the main room from the side room and being like, I want that paycheck. The side room is cool, but I want the main room paycheck. And this might seem a little cannibalistic, because I know that DJs don't want to step on each other's toes. Here's the deal, and I'll just like direct this to whoever might be watching. Take my job. Be better than me. It's okay. I won't be mad at you. If you're a better DJ than me and you happen to land the gigs that I have, that means I fucked up and didn't do enough work to keep it. Take them. They're there for you. Just outwork me and be better. And keep that state of mind for every gig that comes up. Because if you don't want to take someone's gig because you'll feel bad, then I'm just going to come and take both your money. It's kind of ruthless, but at the same time, it's a market. And the marketplace dictates that, not always, but most of the times, the best will always make the most. So work hard would be my advice. And listen to my podcast, which I have. That's my second piece of advice.
So we're talking about kind of like future projects, right? So like the podcast, I think you're in episode, what's the episode?
I think I'm about 12 episodes in.
So they're really informative, and they've not just shared perspective into your life, but thought process, friends, and have become staples for some of the people that I kind of share my time with, and they have nothing but incredible things to say, and I personally have enjoyed them myself. So why don't you tell the community here how they can find your podcast and what to look for and what they can expect in the podcast?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
See? It's like set it up for the...
I know. I actually put the tee down and put the ball in, and then you just took a swing at it. So I decided to add another piece of, I guess, the product. I consider myself a product, even though I'm a DJ, and what we do has artistic merit in a lot of spaces. The realistic thing is that nightclubs are open to make money. And it's not always about artistic integrity and the beautiful art that is DJing, even though it is a small part of the nightclub space. I wanted to add something to my product, and I've tried different things, whether it be making videos after the club or making mixes, mix series, and I find that podcasts, just speaking, happen to be easy to create for me, easy to put out, and have gained a large amount of listeners in a very short amount of time. So I absolutely enjoy providing information and giving people insight on what it's kind of like to be in my shoes and how to get to my shoes. And I also interview other people about their journey and the things that they're doing. If you're interested, you can go to the podcast app and just search My Favorite DJ. And the podcast should come up. You should see my dumb head and just click it, subscribe. Also, if you happen to listen and you enjoy the content, rate it 5 stars, because here's the thing. I want to be the #1 rated DJ podcast on iTunes.
So we're going to set that goal up right here. Put it up on the screen. Let's see it nice and big. That's the goal. And we're going to see if we can hold him to that goal.
It's just a small goal, but here's the thing. One small goal after another small goal after another small goal. And all of a sudden you have a mountain of small goals to look back on. And it's a great thing.
Well, let me ask you, so I definitely understand this podcast. I think our community should definitely support this podcast and, of course, rate it. Who are some sources of inspiration for you in your day-to-day, whether it's from a music perspective, a life perspective, or whatever?
Inspiration, this is funny because 2 things just popped in my head because I'm just going to go with the flashes here. The first one's Gary Vee. We actually were talking about his book that you have here earlier. And whenever I need a shot in the ass in regards to momentum, that is something that I'll listen to a couple of his podcasts, watch his videos, because everything he says is spot on. It's just a matter of following through and actually executing. So that was one thing that just flashed in my head. And the other one, believe it or not, this is going to sound silly, is nature. Okay. I was actually just thinking about nature. It's like survival of the fittest, only the strong survive. Lions eat prey, sharks eat fish. Like, I want to be a predator. I was actually thinking about this recently, where I don't want to be 1% of DJs. I want to be 1% of humans. And I don't mean in regards to money, because that's silly. Money is just a construct we've created. I want to be 1% in regards to intelligence, to fitness, to compassion, to emotion, to helpfulness, all of the positive things that can be achieved as a human. So my inspiration would be Gary Vee in nature. And it sounds kind of silly when I say it out loud.
It's cool.
But that's what my brain went to, so I'm just going with it.
I like it. Now, let's talk about like survival of the fittest for a quick second, just because you said that. So like the first thing that popped into my mind is, you've been in the game for a little while. How do you stay relevant? And how do you stay kind of dialed in outside of maybe the Billboard top 50 tracks? Like, how do you kind of like move with the ins and outs and the twists and turns of the business as a whole? Because things get tough and complicated from time to time.
Yeah, they do. And I think that it's beautiful that things get tough and complicated because it weeds out the weak and the ones that can't deal with it. Survival of the fittest. Staying fluid. I don't have a set of ideals that can't be removed, replaced, or tinkered with.
Okay.
So if I think that the club has to play this because this is what good music is, then I'm not going to play there, because eventually that's going to stop being what people want to hear. So remaining fluid and understanding that my place is to entertain helps me to do a lot of things that are helpful in the service of retaining my position as a predator in this game. So if there is a shift in music and now all of a sudden we're playing EDM, which happened 5-6 years ago, then that's what we're playing. And I'm going to find a way to do it in a creative way that I enjoy to get through 5 or 6 nights of consistent work a week. If all of a sudden we have oversaturated the market with EDM and we're going to hip hop, then I'm going to play hip hop, because now that's what people want to hear. So I'm not going to say, no, I want to play EDM because
Doesn't work, yeah.
It doesn't work.
Now let me ask you this question. What is one of your favorite rooms to play? Do you have a favorite room? And if so, like, what is that?
Well, thank you for the out, which was, do you have a favorite room?
Right, because I don't want to put you out like, okay, we're not trying to like stack clubs up, but do you have just a personal favorite?
This is the answer that I give this question that I'm asked a lot. I would say I'm asked this question maybe once a week, which seems crazy,
Yeah.
from different people. And it's always the same. And it's very political. Somebody said that it is, my answer anyway. But it's the truth. I don't have a favorite room. My favorite room is the room I'm playing tonight,
Got it.
regardless of what night it is. Because they've allowed me to make money. They've allowed me to express myself. They've allowed me to entertain. So regardless of if I'm in Charleston or if I'm in LA, if I'm in Toronto or if I'm in Miami, where I'm playing tonight is my favorite room to play. And I also don't want to build a bias.
Right.
Because I don't want to say my favorite room is this. Because I think subconsciously, when I'm playing a different room, I might think to myself, this is just not as good as that one.
Got it.
And then all of a sudden, I'm playing a little shittier, and there goes my job.
What's the biggest event you've ever played?
Y100 Jingle Ball. I think it was like 15,000 people in Miami.
Is that right? Wow.
Just for 10 minutes. It wasn't like, first of all, I wasn't even headlining. They would just put me on in between, like, people talking.
Got it.
Yeah.
Still, and being in front of that many
Volume-wise,
people.
that would be it.
Right. Okay. Cool. And have you ever? Is there a point in your career that you kind of went on stage or went into the DJ booth and you just said like you wanted to take a photo and say like, "Look, Mom, I made it." Was there any? Have you ever gone through that?
I haven't gone there yet.
Okay. Got it. Good. All right. So let's close out and let's finish up with upcoming projects, things that you have kind of like on the horizon that you're either pumped about or looking really forward to.
Well, my podcast right now, I think, is my primary new project / in the works for more in the future. I just figured the podcast out. It's crazy because podcasting has been out for years now, and I just figured, hey, you should probably just do it. Mm-hmm. I just never thought that what I had to say or my journey, my experience, would be received as well as it has. And I guess it's one of those things where if you're not sure, just do it and see what the feedback is instead of just like not doing it.
Got
so
it.
Lesson learned for me. And in regards to, I guess beyond that, I'm still trying to find that one little crack in the glass above open format DJing that AM was able to go through to that next level and actually make it to that next level. I'm still looking for it. And I think I kind of have an idea of where it is, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Got it. Very cool. So for our community, if you want to link up with Konflikt, what are the social media touch points for everyone?
All of my social media is My Favorite DJ. So if you're on Instagram, My Favorite DJ. If you are searching for my podcast, My Favorite DJ. If you're on Twitter, My Favorite DJ, and you get the point.
Very cool. Well, on behalf of Team DMS, I want to thank you for your time to chop it up and talk a little bit about your crazy life. I'm sure our whole community will support the podcast, and I hope that everyone does. But I just want to thank you on behalf of all of our crew for taking some time to kind of talk and share a little bit of perspective into your world. And be sure to look out for the Minute With video with this legend coming up very shortly as well. So on behalf of DMS, thank you for tuning into this episode of The Formula with DJ Konflikt. Make sure that you hit subscribe, like, and add a comment because we look at everything. Be sure to do that, and we'll see you at another episode coming up very soon. Thanks, man. Cool.